What really did this? What really did this movie for?
Many Bothans died to bring us this information. That's unintentionally the funniest line of all time.
Many Bothans died to bring us this information.
What?
She just brings it up out of nowhere. She mentioned the Bothans like 2 minutes before, and then she just like thinks in her head, R.I.P. to those Bothans. And then Akbar just like kind of pushes her off stage, like, all right, Mon, get over the fucking Bothans, okay? We got
the plans.
Yeah.
We died too.
What are Bothans? Are they humans?
We got planets being destroyed.
Well, I think they're gonna do a
They're gonna do the spinoff.
Rogue
right?
2. It's gonna be the Bothans
They were
getting the
already-
information.
They were already thinking that far ahead. Hello, 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 hello. Got the perfect joke to open this video.
What is it?
People have been asking where we are because we haven't dropped a video since last year.
No.
Because
Yeah,
it's,
no, I
get the joke.
Yeah,
it's Wonder Woman 2020, 2021.
that stunk.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. You just sucked the joy out of this,
Yeah.
out of the studio.
I want to go home.
Are you alright?
Fine. Together again, huh?
Wouldn't miss it.
How we doing?
Same as always.
That bad, huh?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Nerd Soup. I didn't know if it was a podcast or an episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver here, joined today by Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and Teddy, and we are back to complete our Star Wars Revisited series with the original trilogy, ending off with Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. They're back.
Yeah, I think this movie capped off the Star Wars saga pretty good.
Oh, wow, getting right back into it.
Yeah, I don't think it was the best movie, but I had fun with it.
It's so funny. When they announced that Star Wars was coming back in 2012, I was so excited. And there's a section of the fan base that just wants to only think of Star Wars as these three original movies. And just putting it on, hearing the music come on, knowing it's going to be the final chapter of the original three. I'm kind of coming around to that, like, this should be the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you're telling me that how excited you were when Episode 7 was coming out?
Oh, no, yeah.
Like,
it shouldn't have been the end. I'm so glad that they, just in hindsight.
Yeah.
2015 me, now 2020 me, I'm thinking, yeah, this is the only Star Wars that exists for me.
Well, that's
This is the end.
After The Force Awakens, Force Awakens wasn't a bad movie either, but knowing what we know now, just you should have capped it at 6.
Right, and I think with the Force Awakens review, we'll definitely get into our thinking when it came out. But for this, I mean, it's a classic. And I think the first two are better movies, but this one still holds up. There are some obvious flaws with this one that the other two just don't have.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this movie, it feels like they're aware of what they are. Even in Empire, it was still kind of just figuring out what Star Wars is. And in Return of the Jedi, it's very clear that Star Wars was going to become... Lucas is not technically the director. Technically, the director is Richard Marquand, but there are some conspiracies that Lucas shadow directed this movie. And it shows. It definitely shows.
Definitely in some of the add-ons later on, too.
Oh, yeah.
But I agree. I think this is the weaker of the three, and I don't think it's as tight as the other two, but it's still, I think, a very great, well, at the time, conclusion for the series. I think it wraps up very well. But I think getting there sometimes, it's a little... It struggles at times, but it's still one of the better Star Wars movies ever made, and it definitely had a lot of challenges, too, trying to wrap the story up in a appeasing way for fans, and I think it did that at the end of the day.
But did we need an Episode 7, though? Because they did wrap it up and tied...
Stop talking about Episode
All right.
7. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you said, they did wrap it up where... the point I was going to make was going into Episode 7, but let's forget my point.
What was the last point that you made?
Just
They wrapped it up.
It was a little challenge. So.
Yeah, and I think on the Game of Thrones Top 10 Changes video, I infamously made the point that Season 8 was going to be good because how can it be good? They had built so much into the fight between Jon Snow and the White Walkers. It's the same thing with this. You're going to see Luke and Vader face off, and they nailed that. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best lightsaber fights in the saga. It's emotional, what those two characters are going through, the push and the pull for father and son, and the way that the Emperor, Ian McDiarmid, making his first appearance as the Emperor officially, is great in this movie, the way that he's manipulating both of them.
He makes the movie in my eyes.
I think, he may be the best part of the movie, but the first 40 minutes of this film are like an episode of Gullah Gullah Island. Especially with the digital add-ons
And with
after
the
the
Ewoks.
fact.
Oh god.
Yeah, I mean the Ewoks. We'll get into that, but just the beginning. 40 minutes in, I'm like, are we still in Jabba's palace? Can we get the hell out of here? It's such a
Facts.
confusing and intricate plan. It's like, we're going to send in Leia with a nuke, and if that doesn't work, then Luke's just going to come in and be a badass.
I had to check the time when they were still in the palace. I was like, how long is
They
this?
are, they're legit on
It's like 40
Tatooine.
minutes.
But I do like aspects of that opening too. I think, especially like the conclusion of that when they make their escape, I think is awesome. But yeah, there are times when I'm just like, let's move on. Let's move on a little here, and especially the fucking song, man. It's so
Bro, I was like, what am I watching?
It might be the worst thing in Star Wars. And
So
that's
was that
saying
a
a
George
lot, because
Lucas
there's some
edit?
bad shit in Star Wars, I think, but I do I kind of enjoy it too, just how bad and ridiculous
There's a
it
lot
is.
of unintentional comedy in Jabba's palace. And maybe it was intentional, because they're going for the cantina vibes once again, but even with Jabba's place, I mean, there were some bad folks in the cantina. This is like the worst of the worst on Tatooine.
Yeah,
So the
Salacious
creatures
Crumb.
looked, Salacious Crumb, and he's yanking the slave woman, and then he lets her get eaten by the Rancor. There's some disturbing and
Yeah, it was dark.
yeah, and kind of some dark comedy moments, but a lot of it is just very goofy.
Yes, very.
And that's why I wanted to make the point that A New Hope, there was an innocence to that movie. And like I said, they were just trying to kind of figure it out. With this one, it felt more of like an immaturity. And I think that's probably my biggest problem with this movie overall. There's no glaring flaws, but I think that it is just too childish, especially coming off of Empire Strikes Back.
I think a glaring flaw for me would be the lack of Boba Fett. And
You mean Boba?
all right, that's how I say it, guy.
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah. I think he should have had a bigger role in the way he went out, how Han hits him by accident and he falls into the ditch.
Out of all the edits they make, they need to edit out that scene where he tries to shoot Luke and he just bricks it. That's just bad, man. Especially after what they did with him in The Mandalorian.
They did him dirty.
Well, that's what I always say. Like, I never realized why people like this character so much, because he really just has nothing to do. And
He's Tony Snell, man. 28 minutes, no points, no assists, just running around out
He's
there.
just playing
man.
defense.
Yeah, he looks cool though. The head nods.
oh yeah, no, it's not and cool
When he
too.
shows respect to Leia because she
Yeah.
brought the nuke. I've pulled that off once or twice.
I respect that.
And a lot of things too, just watching Mando is like with this movie, obviously with the scenes of Boba Fett, seeing him actually do cool shit, and especially with Luke too. So watching this and alongside with the Mandalorian, I found very cool also.
Yeah, and Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. This is Jedi Knight, budding Jedi Master, and he completely nails that. He's giving you Obi-Wan vibes. He's giving you
Yep.
Mace Windu vibes. He's very calm,
Emperor
collective.
vibes, bro.
Emperor vibes, yeah, and he shows up in the black cloak, and they did some interesting things with the idea of what it means to be light side and dark side with this movie. And Mark, I mean, the trio here is just still so great. Han and Luke reunite, and he's like, "How we doing?" It's like, same as usual.
Yep.
That bad? Their relationship, it grows. It becomes more complex with the revelation of Luke being Luke being Darth Vader's son and Leia being his sister. So there's some interesting stuff between the three of them in this movie. And Harrison Ford as Han Solo, it's just always delightful.
Keep your distance, though, Chewie. But don't look like you're trying to keep your distance. I don't know. Fly casual.
You guys think Darth Vader should have got a little more screen time?
No, I think in all three of them, he's just so perfectly used.
Yeah. Cast in the shadows, but he got his time here and there.
In Empire, he almost just didn't want to think about reality. He just wanted to get it over with, find Luke, and kill him. Now he's really got to face the facts here in this third movie. And you see that conflict with the performance, even if it is just the man in the mask.
Yeah.
The way that his voice is changing and the way that he speaks to Luke. And you could see that there's some tension between him and the Emperor in this movie as well.
Yeah, that's the best part of this movie, I think, is Luke and Vader, especially that scene when they finally capture him and they're talking. I always think of the Family Guy Taco Tuesday joke they did and their version of it. But the original trilogy as a whole, too, I like how they talk about the Force, how they kind of portray light versus dark, and even a lot of like the abilities they can do with the fighting and the lightsaber fighting overall. It's just a simplicity to it that I think got lost in the prequels, where they try, I know the famous metachlorians, but even like with the movements and how they discuss it, I feel like here it's digestible and it's perfect for, I guess, the series. And seeing that play out between Luke and Vader, and then having Palpatine trying to kind of manipulate both of them, I thought was the strongest part of this movie.
I love how when Luke says to the Emperor, his overconfidence is going to be his downfall.
People complain about Starkiller Base in the sequel trilogy. This is kind of where it started, where the Empire's big plan is just to make a new Death Star. But it works here because it's just the hubris of the Empire and the Emperor. Like you said, his overconfidence. We'll just do it again. Fuck it, I'll do it again. Just build another one.
Run it back.
With a reactor and one more
half
button.
of it's missing, so nobody thinks that it actually works. And a lot of people always say that this movie has the best space battles, this best space battle out of any of the movies. And I love that. Lando front and center leading the charge in the Falcon. It's a great space battle.
Oh yeah, the culmination of everything going on, even with the ridiculousness of the Ewoks.
Should have been Wookiees.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it should
So
have
much
been
more realism.
I think that's what it was supposed to be originally. It was supposed to be a Wookiee planet, the Wookiee planet Kashyyyk. That would have just been better to see a bunch of giant 7-foot fucking fur balls.
Like with the rocks and like how they kill the stormtroopers, or like it's like when Merry and Pip are throwing rocks at the Orkai, and
Right.
you're all going down when they're attacking. It's, there are definitely some cool moments with that, but I think it's a bit distracting, especially when you have that great space battle going on and you have everything going on in the throne room and all these. I think there's like 4 different sequences, right? But I very much enjoyed that, like the culmination of the movie when they're bouncing back and forth. It's very climactic.
Yeah, it's showing you all different perspectives on who's going through what. If you focus too much on one, you lose sight of what everyone else is doing too.
Yeah, and each movie kind of builds on that. A New Hope has the one ending. Empire's kind of got like 2 endings going on, and then we have the 3 endings all converging here. So yeah, it built up to that epic conclusion. And the Ewoks are people, they defend them saying, hey, an invading empire comes in, and the natives understand their land better, so they know how to fight, and they can overcome even an enemy that's technologically superior. Still should have been Wookiees.
Yeah.
Because George Lucas loves his toys,
Little
and that's
Muppets
exactly...
pushing fucking,
You got a bunch of Care Bears running around. It is kind of hilarious
Respect it,
how
though.
bloodthirsty they are, like in the end when they're just banging on the stormtrooper helmets.
Dude, when I saw that scene, I was like, that's kind of dark too.
Yeah. No, the Ewoks don't. I mean, they were ready to eat all the boys.
Yeah, they were.
Until Luke did that. And that's when you mentioned about the Force, that it's not like this power that makes them gods. It's like a power that they're borrowing, and they have to use it wisely. They can't overwhelm people with it. You have to be clever with it, and that's an instance of Luke making C-3PO levitate, getting them out of the jam there.
But part of the power in having the Force too is that you get looked at like a god too. Like you're able to do that kind of shit, and people look up to you like that,
Right, yeah.
and you have that influence.
Yeah, and they did a good job of tackling that idea in The Last Jedi.
Well, one of the things I do like about the sequel trilogy is the fighting style is it's closer to what we see here than it is in the prequels. So, I mean, like that last fight, it's simple, but it's very effective, I think.
Yes.
And Luke's not, like, he does, like, one jump, like a force jump or anything, but he's not spinning and jumping and doing all these crazy moves. It's very much, there's, like, a weight to
It's grounded.
Because he's fighting the Emperor.
Yeah.
That's he's fighting the manipulation. Darth Vader saying maybe Leia will turn to the dark side. When he comes out and he's just rage hitting him.
Yeah.
That always stuck with me as a kid.
And Empire, too, I think, that last lightsaber duel. Those 2 are probably my favorites within the series, and it's usually everyone likes the Empire one. I love this one probably just as much. Well, in the prequels, the fights, like, they were meant to be just like entertaining, like, look how cool this fight is, where these fights focused on what everything surrounding it, what they're struggling with, and what, like, the deeper meaning of this altercation is.
Right, because the way that
yeah.
Luke wins here is by not fighting.
Mhm.
That's the thing. He keeps getting dragged into this fight and pushed into it by what Vader and the Emperor are saying. So it's a bit more interesting that you can forgive the choreography of its time, because you're just so much more interested in how this journey is going to end for both of these characters. Like when Luke throws down his sword, which is my favorite Luke Skywalker moment. And even then,
That hit Anakin.
Right,
Darth
that may
Vader
be the
hard.
one that finally convinced him, but you're watching him be electrocuted by the Emperor, and it's forever. Darth Vader is just staring at him in that mask, and you can imagine what's going on in his head. Do I kill my dad, or do I help my son? Basically.
I don't know
And
how.
it's amazing.
I don't know how. I guess because we know the character and know what he's going through, and we've seen it before with other characters struggling between the dark and the light. But even though it's a mask, you can see that, like, conflict.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like emoting through the mask. I don't know how. It's very weird, and I guess it is a lot of
Because
our
you're
knowledge.
just seeing Luke, man, the way that...
This came out before Revenge of the Sith, so they did all this without having Revenge of the Sith, so not knowing the internal struggle that he's really having.
Right, yeah, and I think
You know?
they really did a good job of, they got lucky here, because with their retcons in the past, they don't really have to retcon any tension between Vader and the Emperor, because you could tell that Vader wants to kind of do one thing, and the Emperor is saying, no, follow my plan. So even the Emperor kind of senses it from Vader, that there are some misgivings that he's having here.
And now I sense you wish to continue your search for young Skywalker.
Yes, my master.
Patience, my friend.
What did it for me for this movie is because I grew up with 1, 2, and 3, not 4, 5, 6. I really loved Anakin, and it hurt seeing him turn into Darth Vader. When they brought him back, like when he was able to beat that internal struggle and go back to good, that really hit for me. And that was a great scene, seeing him grab Palpatine and throw him over the ledge.
Yeah, it's one of the best scenes in the entire saga.
Really got rid of him.
I don't know how he survived that. That makes no sense, man.
Yeah. And I guess we could talk, we'll get to it though when we finally do get to episode 9, but it takes away a lot with Anakin's story, right? Do you
It does.
think?
No, because these
think it
movies are
does.
so, like, there's the gap between 6 and 7 is huge. It's like 30 years at this point. So you really can just watch this and be like, call it a day. Call
Yeah.
it a Star Wars. I don't think it does. When I go back and watch these movies, I'm going to go back and watch these 3. I don't even care about the sequel trilogy. I don't care about continuing the journey anymore because of what happens in The Rise of Skywalker. There could have been a better way, but I still think him just being thrown over and exploding,
Yeah.
like he died. Come on. Like the man died. There's no way he survived that.
I do love in Star Wars though how, and I guess it speaks to the Force, and I think people who are Force sensitive know, you know, they're able to forgive people more than, I guess, just the average onlooker. So it always makes me laugh, and they're like, no, when Luke's trying to save Darth Vader's like,
Yeah.
no, come back and everything will be fine.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we
don't
can
know
just
if I
forget
can.
about.
All your sins are forgiven.
Yeah. But I guess that speaks more to like the Force, and like they understand what it's like and how easy it is to fall into that trap. But it always does give me a chuckle when they're like, you're good now.
Yeah, all those bodies, you're back to 0 now. Clean slate. Welcome to heaven, buddy. I think with this movie, I mean, the add-ons are bad for all 3 of them. I think Empire has the least because Empire just looked the best out of the 3. Certain scenes in this movie that just don't look as clean as the other 2 movies. Even the setting of Tatooine looks like a fake desert. The first Tatooine was this beautiful sand desert landscape. Tatooine here, when they're doing the public execution, just looks like, I don't know what it is. It's not sand.
In a warehouse.
Yeah,
Sand
right.
mountains.
And they're on the hoverboard, and they're clearly not on a desert planet.
Yeah.
They're clearly in front of a green screen. The Forest Moon of Endor, the bike scene, still holds up.
I mean, the space battle is amazing.
Yeah.
I really like especially it's nowadays with the world of CGI, and obviously comparing this to something like a Haldo maneuver type sequence, or even that first space battle in Last Jedi. It's with the technology, you can't compare, but it's still amazing how it just looks so well, especially from when it was made. I think I've said this before or tweeted it, like that ending party. I would be so fucking pissed if I just destroyed the Empire and I'm partying on fucking Endor. Go to Coruscant.
Can I get
Come
something
on. Coruscant's probably popping off right now.
First one to Canto Bite. Last one to Canto Bite's a move milker.
I do like that add-on when they do show the other planets.
That was cool, yeah.
What were your thoughts on the add-on with Hayden Christensen?
Stupid.
I like it.
I liked it too.
I wish Yoda looked up and was like, oh my God, it's this guy. Last time I
What
saw
are you
you,
doing
you were
here?
killing kids last time I saw you.
I don't know, because
Nah,
they say
get over
that
here,
his
buddy.
last thing, Vader's last good,
Hey, Miss
was
Grogu.
saving.
Yeah, that is true.
Vader's last good was saving Luke, so they should have kept the older gentleman.
But he's not a Jedi.
But no one knows him.
Right, well, the actor is Sebastian Shaw, who was a big actor at the time, so it was a good, and he's great, man. When the way that he acts with his eyes when he does look at Luke for the first time, the tears that are swelling up, and the way that he just dies, it's very sad.
I always viewed it more as like it could go both ways. He's returning to the light, and that's like the last time we see him, and that should be his Force ghost.
Yeah.
But also, it's like, well, maybe he didn't fully return, and it manifested itself the last time he was a true Jedi, and that would be Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, he fan serviced me. I liked it.
Yeah,
He did it for guys like me.
I make
It's
fun
always
of.
one of my favorite Family Guy jokes when they show Obi, Yoda, and then and I'm Hayden Christensen. What the hell are you doing here? I just don't like any of the changes. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is now because you can't even get your hands on the unedited versions. You have to get them on fucking VHS. So he's made some other bad changes, worse changes than this one. This one is just, it's just silly to me seeing this man Hayden Christensen.
It's so funny because a
lot of people like it.
We rip on Hayden and the performances and whatever, but I just love Anakin.
I know, yeah. No, a lot of people love Anakin.
So I just like every time I see him, or like even they reference him, or he's gonna be an Obi-Wan. I'm like, hell yeah, I want that.
Yeah, I think the fans have really come around on him, where they just appreciate the character and they don't hold it against him.
It's more of the writing, not him.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe a little of both.
Yeah, probably. Yoda came back. I always forget Yoda's in this.
Right?
It's like I had a promise to an old friend. Like, oh yeah, Yoda.
He just dies.
Instead of having a tough conversation with Luke, he just dies. So Vader's my dad? Ask Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it's not on me. I didn't want to train you.
The battle on Endor, it's not only the Ewoks, but it's also boring at times. I found it very dull. Like when they're trying to hotwire the base.
Yeah.
That goes on for like 5 minutes.
The shield generator?
Yeah. And when the rebels would steal the base, and then the Empire would steal back the base, and then they'd steal back the base. It was so wacky. They clearly did not know what to do with these characters. But it's great because the chemistry between Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher is still there. And she gets the chance to say, I know, when he says, I love you.
No, yeah, that's the best part of that whole sequence. Because Han and Leia are, I mean, we talk about it, these revisiteds, I mean, their story too. So
yes.
I think...
And one of the best on-screen romances just in film history.
Yeah. When they reunite after he's saved from the carbonite and all that, I think...
Ho, 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 ho. What's that?
That man set him up. It was like he was watching a movie.
That is fucking ridiculous.
He did the Sopranos.
No way they're keeping that quiet beyond that.
Exactly.
They're all
I want to know when he got there.
Jabba breathes.
He breathes, he shakes the ground.
Yeah.
Little shh, they're coming out.
Yo, she yokes him out.
She did choke
that
him
chain,
the fuck out. Yeah, Slave Leia, that's always very controversial. Just like putting her in that bikini.
She looked hot.
But the moments they share throughout the film, I think are nice. And I think it wraps up well, too. When...
Well, even Han thinking that Luke and Leia are in some sort of relationship. It's like, you love him? She's like, yeah, I do. Could have worded that differently.
I know. I love him like a brother, maybe?
Yeah. I love him like a best friend. And Harrison Ford really wanted Han Solo to die in this movie. He insisted to Lucas that this should be the sacrifice. This is the hero sacrifice. That there are consequences.
I'm glad they didn't, though.
It's too goofy for him to die. That's the thing. He's such a goofball, and I think they amped it up in this one. Not so much where you're like, this is a different character, but he's very silly in this movie. So if he's just like kind of being silly on Endor the whole time, tapping people on the shoulder and running away, and then he gets just like obliterated or something.
The emotional weight wouldn't be so much.
Yeah, because you don't think anybody's coming out of this without their life.
Yeah, I mean, I guess...
Except maybe like Vader.
Well, the big sacrifice moment, is Vader.
The Emperor.
I guess that is I don't know if it's a criticism because I think we said it with The Mandalorian, like, is anyone going to die in the finale? And I'm like, well, Star Wars for some reason is able to, like, get away with having all their, like, characters make it out. Especially in the original trilogy. And...
Yeah, no way did I want Han Solo to die.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the way you wanted to tell it, then if it made sense, sure, but...
It makes more sense in 7 for him to die.
Yeah, the vibes of the movie are very fun and lighthearted, even though it is the climactic finish. The scenes that need to be dark are dark, and those are the scenes between Luke, Vader, and the Emperor, and that's what really stands out about this movie for me. But it's still such an iconic trilogy, and I think that this belongs in the same category as the first two. It's good enough.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, guys, so that does it for our Revisited for Return of the Jedi. And, of course, our next Revisited will be The Force Awakens. We're getting into the some dangerous territory here.
The real meat of the bones of the Star Wars franchise.
Right. Well, would you look at that? It's finally over. Hey guys, Beau Oliver here for one final send-off. Now, before I beg you guys to like and share this video, I'd like to thank our very special Patreon pledgers. We are very proud of the community we've been able to build here at NerdSoup, and it would not have been possible without our Patreon supporters. You guys are the true MVPs of this channel. Everything I've said, you keep the fridge full, you keep the lights on. There aren't enough words to thank you guys, but we'll do it anyway. Thank you. And we have a few videos coming up that have been suggested to us by Patreon pledgers. My Hero Academia, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Full Metal Alchemist will be reviewed by Marissa, and yours truly, and Castlevania, which will be reviewed by Marissa and Aaron. And if you'd like to consider donating to our Patreon page, you can visit patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out some of the rewards we offer to our listeners. And really, we'd like to thank everyone who takes the time out of their day to watch our videos. Patreon pledger or not, your support is what keeps us motivated to keep giving the world our opinions on movies and TV shows and video games and pop culture, even though no one asked for it. We're still here, we're still yapping, and we hope you continue to join us. I'm Beau Oliver, and I support this message.